Do you struggle with your show rate like hardcore? Because that is why I made this video, and I've had that problem in the past too, where I have a bunch of calls booked and then people don't show up. This is part 2 to my getting people to show up to your call and close sales videos. Part 1 I uploaded the other day, so you can go check that out right now. It's on the channel. And the first part I talked about how to get the initial contact, how to get quality leads to speak to, and how to make sure that you're spending your time in the right lead. If that makes sense. So I'd go check that video out right now. This will definitely help you make your show rate go up. For me, for the longest time, my show rate was awful. Like I had maybe a 10% show rate. And so using the tips from last video and this video, my show rates have increased tenfold. Like I think I have like an 80 to 90% show rate as of like a month ago. And I'm going to go over exactly how that works in this video. I'll give you some steps to get people to close and hop on the call. If you don't know who I am, my name's Steven. I make this channel for entrepreneurs, business owners, like-minded individuals, people who are on self-improvement, to help you become better and to grow your company. So if you like this kind of stuff, go ahead and click the subscribe button. I make videos all the time. And I don't have an upload schedule, but I should. So one thing I want to talk about, I didn't talk about in the last video. And this is, I guess, for getting people to show. So this is shows, but this kind of has to do with the last video. This is another little tidbit, and it's just because it just happened to me, like right before I turned the camera on. The way I'm going to word this is prospect character. Now, when I say prospect character, oh, here we go. I always mess this word up. Character. Nope. Yep, this is an A. Character. Yes, prospect character. And what I mean by that is the kind of character that they have and the type of energy that they have in the call when you speak to them. Sometimes I'll hop on a phone with someone and they're like, yes, can I help you? Now, realistically, they might lighten up. However, if they talk to you like that as a salesman, they talk to their clients like that. They talk to their friends like that. They talk to their family like that. When someone answers the phone, can I help you? How can I help you? Right? This person is clearly not someone who's going to have a very, at least in my market, specifically when I do marketing. So if I'm giving you a lead and you're going to answer the phone for that lead and say, hi, how are you? What do you need? That's not someone who's going to close jobs. That's not someone I want to work with. But in your situation, it could vary depending on your situation, but you can kind of tell by someone's energy that they're just not a good fit. So I wouldn't book calls with people who have who are negative people inside. You want to book calls with positive people. You show up to the door and say, "Hey, yes, this is Stacy. How can I help you?" And she's very excited to talk to you, or he, whoever it is, right? Then that's someone you want to work with, because sometimes it clicks, and it just makes sense. So that's the first step that I want to make, and that's kind of before the actual sales call. Again, like I said, if you're struggling to get people to actually book appointments with you, go watch the last video I just made. But the second one, I'm going to give you some tips on this because I've tried this out and I actually don't use this anymore. I'm going to tell you why, but it's not a bad idea. So the qualifying survey, that is, so you send someone something after the call and say, hey, qualify yourself after the call, and then we can hop on a meeting together. So I'm going to send you this link. Just fill out this quick form with some information, and we can figure it out. If I were to send out a qualifying survey still, I would send it only if I didn't collect all the information I needed on the phone. However, I don't send one out, and the reason I don't is because people disqualify themselves, and then I feel like I wasted my time, and so it fucks with my head. So like if I have 10 meetings booked, and then an hour later, all those meetings are off my calendar because every single one of them didn't qualify, then I feel stupid. But you should qualify them in the initial contact call. That's what I talked about in the previous video. However, you can send out a qualifying survey. I think this works a lot better for door-to-door because you can give them a piece of paper, or you can have them scan a QR code and say, hey, can you fill out this survey really quick so we can make sure that it's a good fit? I just don't do it because it ruins my confidence. However, I think that it's a really good idea. It can, sometimes technically it can mess up, but if you do it properly, then it works and it gets people engaged with you. You want to make people go through more loopholes. And I talked about this in the last video, but I'm going to bring it up again. So there's 2 funnels. Here's funnel A, here's funnel B. Well, here we go. And at the bottom of your sales funnel is where you make money. When you're doing cold calls and approaches like that, just because it's not a website doesn't mean it's not a sales funnel. There's still steps, right? You go to the door, you come back for the inspection, you talk to the insurance company, they close the sale. Right? Your job is when you bring people into these funnels, especially as cold, you want to have them come in, you want to invite them in and have them bounce off the walls and go right down into your sales pipeline. And these bounces off the funnel, these are hard stopping questions that ask the customer if they really, really want to do the thing. So that's why I always say when you're booking appointments, don't ask for 2 times, ask for 1 time. Are you available tomorrow at 4? Because then they have to say yes or no. If you get them to say yes a bunch of times, they're more likely to buy. If you get them to agree, but if you give them options and you say, can you do this time or this time, they're going to give you a time to get out of your face. You want to ensure that you're getting people hard stopping points and confirming that they're moving along to the next step of the funnel, right? The other way, this is how I was doing it before, and this is probably how you're doing it too, is that A customer comes in because you force them in, and they just fall out of the funnel somewhere along the line. And you're like, I don't know why the customer's falling out. It's because you didn't have them jump through enough hoops. Look at this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hoops they have to jump in through to say yes, right? 6 zags in the funnel that they have to go through to close, right? Whereas here, they didn't have to say anything and they get thrown into the funnel and then they just disappear somehow. And so that is what we're trying to do here. We're trying to add more roadblocks for them to hop on the call, because if they go through all your shit, your qualifying survey and everything else I'm going to talk about in this video, then they're more likely to buy. Now, the next point, to send them info before the call. So you want to send info via a video or a document. I like to make sure there's info palatable in every way that someone wants to listen to it. If they want to read it, if they want to listen to it, if they want to watch it, if they want to talk on the phone about it, right? You want to send them information and have them understand what the call is going to be about, so you're not approaching them with the value prop on the call. They know the value of the service, they understand you, and it builds rapport, right? This is another point in the funnel, right? Maybe this is along the way, right? So this number 3 is along the way, right? It's not a necessary stopping point, something they have to do. However, it's along the way, and if they do that, there's a higher chance of converting, right? If they watch your 20-minute video about how you can deliver your service to them, they're more likely to buy than someone else. So the next one is to send reminder messages. So I do this via automation, and it's a really good thing to have. I believe reminder messages are great via automation. However, I think that sending them just like texting someone with your hands, manually dialing or manually messaging someone, hey, just making sure we're good for the call, they're more likely to respond. Also, if it's from an iPhone, it says like, could be Steven, right? If you put your name, hey, this is Steven, can you send some information over before our call? Which is another pro tip I want to give here. When you send reminder messages, don't just say, hey, this is a reminder your call is tomorrow at this time. Say, hey, this is Steven. Did you get the Zoom link for the call? Or I'm going to be in the neighborhood in a couple hours. Are we still good for that time? Right? You want to add some more personality to it, and maybe even try to get them to do something, right? Here's another point for me. When I ask them to send information about themselves, if they send information, 9 times out of 10, they hop on the call, right? And so, like how I talked in the last video, value your time. If you send out, like I send out probably 4 text messages and 4 emails, and I call them, which is something else I'm going to talk about here in a second. If they can't respond or open one of the 9 messages I send them before the call, they're not going to show up, right? And I'll just go ahead and cancel the call myself. And that's valuing your time, right? Be very careful when you're doing these things. Don't show up to someone's house when they clearly don't want you there. The next thing is to call. So I talked about that a second ago, but this one has actually increased my conversions insanely. Is to call someone an hour, 2 hours before the call. Hey, John, are you still available at this time? This is Steven, just reaching out to let confirm the appointment for this time. There's 2 reasons why this is good. 1, you look professional doing it. And 2, I guess 3. The second reason is that they have to say yes once again to you verbally in person. And the third reason is sometimes people book these appointments and they're busy and they completely forget. And so that's either a chance for you to sell them to get back on the call or let it go. Like I just had one of those this morning where I called this guy and said, hey man, we have a meeting booked for this time. Can you make it? And he said, oh, man, honestly, this week's not going to work. Can you give me a call next week? We can figure it out. I know from all the calls that I made, just based on the way he said that and what was going on, he had no clue what I was talking about and he didn't care. And he was just blowing me off. I'm not going to go chase that guy down. I value my time. So I said, just like the tip I gave in the last video, hey man, if you're interested, you can give me a call next week. You can give me a call when you're free next week, right? That way I'm not chasing down. I don't look like I need him, right? Yeah, it's cool. Just give me a call when you're available, right? That's a big one too. Now, number 6 is to send testimonials before the call. So this is always really good. Even if it's text, it doesn't have to be a video. If you just text someone and say, hey man, John got, this usually works, by the way, a lot more in the online business space. But if you text them before the call, hey, just wanted to send over some, testimonials. This guy, John, he works at ABC company, and he was actually able to close an additional $50,000 in revenue in the last 2 months just from working with us. Here's Sean. Sean was able to get, an additional $1 million in revenue after working with us for a year and a half. That kind of thing builds some rapport, gets them interested in the call. And then the last thing I want to talk about, and I've said this before, but if they don't engage, you cancel the call. So manually cancel the call, right? Like I said, if you send them messages, you send them information, if you do all this stuff, you send them a qualifying survey, you send them information about your service, you call them, you send them text messages, and they still don't answer, they're still not interested, they still don't reply, cancel the meeting yourself. And the way that I actually do this is I have a button that I press when someone doesn't book a call or when they don't seem interested. I press a button, and from there it asks them like, hey, are you still coming to the, well, I guess it's more like, I'm going to cancel your call if you don't respond. And I say it in a nice way, like, hey man, I got a lot of people on my schedule. I got a lot of stuff going on. If you can't make it, that's totally cool. I can take you off the schedule so I can fit someone else who actually needs our service, And if you think that comes off mean, then you don't believe in your service enough. And that's a whole other topic. But yeah, so I ask them, right? I confirm they're not showing, and then I wait 30 minutes for them to reply. And if they don't reply, then I remove them from my calendar. And that way I can spend the rest of the day putting someone in there. I think I learned this from Daniel G, if I'm not mistaken. He was talking about how you need to run your calendars, not your customer, right? Because like, here's a great example today, and I made this mistake today. I didn't do that with someone, and the guy didn't show up to the meeting. And so what I did was I assumed that I was going to have that blocked for the meeting, and then that became free time, and I had to fill it with something. Right? That's a mistake. That's a mistake that I made. And so I don't do that. Usually, in taking all this stuff that I've talked about, especially with this whole funnel idea here, I think that makes it more palatable. But I used to have 10 calls booked a day, and one of them would show up. In the last month, I'll have 7 calls booked a day, but 6 of them will show up. And when you can have enough conversations, you can close more sales, right? If you follow all these steps, you will have more qualified people on your calendar. And on top of that, every single one of them will be a serious sales conversation. I know you've probably had calls before where you hop in the call and the guy's like, I don't really know if I'm ready, or, maybe we can figure it out in a couple months. But how would you feel? How much better would your life and your business be if you talked to only 6 people every day, and every single one of those 6 people had the revenue to get started, tried your service out in the past, and knew every bit of information about your company because you did the steps required in this video? I promise you would close more sales. So that's pretty much it. I think this one was a lot shorter than the last one, but this one would have made the last one run on to like 40 minutes. And so I just decided I'm not going to do that. But if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe. And if you are a contractor and you're looking to get more jobs in your calendar without having to, I do all this stuff. This is why I literally do this stuff for you. If you want me to do this stuff for you, click the link below. Have a beautiful day. Stop scrolling on social media, because it's not putting people in your calendar.